Hello everyone, thank you for joining. I am Jisary and I welcome you to my channel where I do all different kinds of creative content. Guns! Do I have your attention? I might need to work on the opening of my videos. Anyway, Borderlands 4 is out. Yay! And since I was a big fan of the first Borderlands game, and I was in the mood to draw some guns, I thought, why not make a Borderlands themed video? So, to celebrate the release of a new Borderlands game, I will redesign one of my older OCs into a Borderlands version. The character I will redesign is called Mara. She was one of my very first OCs and the first one with a fully fledged out backstory. She is pretty edgy and has a lot of my 16-year-old self in her. But I still love her to this day. So, what I will keep about her design is her vibe, the long brown hair, the green eyes, and that she has one covered leg. There is a reason for the one leg being covered, but I will keep it to myself, because maybe one day I will make my dream come true and actually fully draw the story as a comic, or make it a video game, or something. Copium. But back to the design. With these aspects in mind, let's look into the typical Borderlands design points. I will orient myself to the first Borderlands because I just like it the most. Generally, they have very muted, desaturated colors in their clothing. A lot of leather and thick clothes. And especially the women tend to wear some form of tank top and reveal quite some skin. Tattoos are common, as well as punky aesthetics, especially when it comes to the hair. So, let's incorporate these points into the new design. From the lower side, Mara would probably be some form of, scrap mechanic maybe, trying to make something out of whatever she finds in the desert. And since she is quite small and thin, she would likely fight from a distance. Maybe with some form of sniper rifle. So I will give her mechanic goggles and big boots and gloves for her to be able to touch and work with heavy metals. Pandora has a lot of desert and scrap, so I will also give her a neck scarf she can put over her mouth when needed. For punkiness, I will give her a side cut and her bangs will be more messy. I would imagine she would ride something like a motorcycle around in the desert for easier traversal. A vehicle would also make sense because it empowers her to carry more stuff home. Something she puts together herself. So, I want her clothes to look a little like biker attire. Jeans, shorts and hot pants are very common for Borderlands designs. So I will give her a jeans hot pants with thick boots and tights on the one side. So only tight, I guess. As a mechanic, she also needs tools to work with. So I will give her a belt with lots of space to store different items. And she will get a small knife that she has on her leg to react to anything that jumps at her that she can't keep her distance off. And I will give her some form of cape, but not a regular one, something that is stuck into her belt. So she can use it to sit on it to make the rough rides on the motorcycles through the desert a little more comfortable. But it is flexible. She can also use it as a blanket for when it gets colder in the desert. And there we have her design. I will keep the color palette very earthy and desaturated, just as in Borderlands. The only more saturated splashes of color are the green eyes and some orange here and there for some contrast. I will also give her a tattoo on the shoulder. It is a fennec. For everyone who doesn't know what that is a very cute and small desert animal. Something similar to a fox. They aren't strong but quite resilient and agile, just as Borderlands Mara is. Okay, that looks good. Now, give me a second while I draw a small illustration with her. While I draw, let me tell you about her backstory I came up with. Mara was born on Pandora to parents who were vault hunters, who died in the process of, well, pursuing the vault. Mara was left behind in the desert, but was luckily found and picked up by traveling merchants who brought her to Sanctuary. Well, this is one of the main hubs in the game. A very big city, basically. After the big vault rush, a lot of orphans were found around the desert, so someone in Sanctuary founded the Little Fennec, a home for orphans lost in the desert. This is where Mara was adopted and grew up with many other orphans in Sanctuary. The desert always called to her, and she started exploring it early on with her friend Mira. As Sanctuary wasn't rich, and thus the Little Fennec also struggled to get by, Mara started using the scraps she found in the desert to make tools or fix buildings, basically to help. Eventually, she became so good in that she started even repairing broken old machines and reselling them. Every orphan who enters the Little Fennec home gets the Fennec tattoo to remind themselves where they came from and to never forget the others. So whenever a Fennec needs help, every other Fennec will jump in. And that's somewhat of the backstory. I think if I would do a concrete story about her, something that I would, really write or draw, it would probably go something like this. After reaching the age of 18, Mara moves out of the Fennec home to build herself a small repair business. She builds it up next to the desert entrance, near the mechanic who sells cars and offers gas, to all the merchants, vault hunters, and scrap collectors who regularly travel to the desert and thus pass this point. So a lot of potential customers for Mara's repair shop, the Mechanical Fox. Since she has cheap prices and quite the talent, word travels fast, and after a few years she has a solid business with 3 employees. One day, one of the Fennecs comes to her place, Mira, and this is where the story really starts. She is full with wounds and weird markings and can barely talk. She begs Mara for help before she faints. As a former Fennec, Mara is obliged to help her, so she starts investigating. But what she finds is something she would have never imagined. Will she be able to save her friend? And what did her friend get herself into? And does it have something to do with Mara's parents and who they were, and maybe even with the vault? Well, writing imaginative stories about a character that doesn't technically exist is kind of whack. But I think that would have potential. What do you think? Would you read that story or play it as a video game? Okay, the illustration is nearly done. As you can see, I gave her a sniper rifle to reflect her combat archetype. I was even thinking to go full ham with the weapon design, but I decided to design something from a basic sniper rifle, so making it a bit more distinguishable and also something that people can just recognize without knowing much about weapons. Originally, I even want to make a full illustration with a desert background and even design her a motorcycle. But it took me so long to get this done that I scrapped the background in the end and only concentrated on the character. I don't know. Some art pieces are just so hard to make. It takes way more energy than it should, and in the end it doesn't look great. This was one of those pieces. I mean, it looks fine, but considering how hard it felt to finish it, the quality doesn't reflect that at all. But I guess this is just how it goes sometimes. I hope you enjoyed my little excursion into the world of Pandora, which is where the first game is located. Back then, I really loved the lore. I'm also a big fan of Battle Angel Alita. These post-apocalyptic settings with sci-fi and a touch of punk are just something I really enjoy. And back then, I really loved the lore and vibes. Unfortunately, the later games didn't capture that so well anymore. It became way too colorful and modern for my taste, especially in terms of character design and writing. Well, I mean, the gameplay also got worse, especially the way they rewarded the player. For a looter shooter, the loot flow and how the loot is designed, well, in terms of stats and so on, is really important. It's the core of the game. And in the first game it was fine, and in the second even a little better, but, well, afterwards they seem to have forgotten that they are a looter shooter. But I digress. Maybe I should create design deep dive videos at some point, considering how often I go on these tangents in my videos. Sorry for that. Thank you all for joining me. Let me know in the comments what you think about the character and Borderlands. For everyone who plays Borderlands 4, I wish you a lot of fun. I surely will take a look at it, but I'm not sure if I will play right off the bat after release or just wait a little bit when it's not as expensive anymore. We will see. And if you are still busy with Silksong, I wish you the same. I hope the steep difficulty curve for the platforming hasn't thrown you off. And for all of you, I wish you all a great rest of the day. Stay healthy and comfy. Until we meet again.